integrated, or how we can actually communicate with our top management on how safety is very important. If you look into, mostly, let's talk about the construction industry, how safety is most times being sidelined and seen as a separate entity. And they successfully make this happen because sometimes we as professionals, we don't know how to actually convince them and let them know that, see, safety goes a long way in ensuring the success of every project that you carry out. It's not only about accident, it's not only about illnesses, it goes a long way in talking about sustainability and productivity. So this course or this training today will be talking about or educating us on how safety as an entity is a tool to project success and productivity. So I would like to share my screen now. Please kindly confirm if you can see my screen.
Very, very clear, sir. Very clear.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ubong.
Yeah, I can see it is very clear.
So this is the topic: safety, a tool to project success and quality deliverable. And what we do, I don't want to go too much about it. If you want to know more about us, you can go to our website, www.cordargroup.com. We are into general health and safety consultancy for your general safety trainings and safety needs. All these are what we do. We don't want to waste much of our time because in this evening period, we are supposed to be resting. So we need to balance work and life balance. So we are supposed to be resting now, but yeah, it's still part of resting anyway, relaxing and enjoying the moment. So these are our services at a glance. We'll still share the materials with you so that you can have a better glance at what we do. And if you need, our company profile too is also available. The kind of trainings that we deliver, workplace trainings and the likes. So now at the end of this presentation, what do we want to know? Understanding the basic concept of safety and project management. We're talking about safety as an entity, we're talking about project management. We want to understand the basic concept. Familiarity is with the integration of project management to safety profession, to safety management, relationship between cost, schedule, quality, and safety. And the reason why we are using this basic, there's what we call, okay, this is about me. Some of us know me already, but the most important thing is I'm a safety advocate. I'm very experienced in manufacturing safety. I'm experienced in construction safety, in delivering trainings. I've delivered a lot of trainings. I'm an expert in what I do, and I believe in myself. So these are what I do. And currently, I work as an individual. Mr. Obong said I'm a CEO. I'm not a CEO. I beg. I'm not a CEO. I'm a safety consultant. I beg. I'm just a consultant. So
It's
we are
it's
learning
okay, sir. It's okay,
yeah,
sir.
we are learning in the field. So, but people apart from myself have gotten feedback on from my past employees, from people who have worked with me on how I deliver quality in anything I do. So that is for another day. So the reason why we are talking about project management, there are many areas of project management. We have Scrum Master, Agile Process, a lot of them. But we will be using a very simple and direct system, which is the PM Book of Knowledge. So in the PM Book of Knowledge, we have a lot of knowledge areas that talk about cost, talk about schedule, talks about quality, talk about resources, talks about communication, talks about stakeholders. It's PM Book of Knowledge. So what I actually did on myself is to, because even in the PM Book of Knowledge, safety is not included. So I use safety as an integrating factor at every point of the knowledge areas. So I was able to do that. I think I did that some years back. But for the purpose of this training, is a very lengthy training course. But for the purpose of this training and time, I decided to limit it to just cost, schedule, quality, and as we have safety. So though we also talk about communication resources in some areas, but the major point here is to let us understand how safety is a very good tool that can help us to ensure project success and quality deliverable. So when we talk about project management, we say it's application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the project requirement. There are a lot of things that defines project requirement when we're talking about we want to carry out so activities, want it to end at a particular time, a 6-month project, and that is part of the requirement. 6-month projects, a requirement. So quality, so standard we need to work on. This is what we want to do. This is what we want to achieve. We want the materials to last for this, and this. These are also part of the requirements, and we want to spend not more than this amount. If you are spending our management reserve or whatever reserve you are spending, we must not exceed this amount. On cost, on schedule, on quality, it's what we want to achieve. So, and the scope of the project, this is what the project entails. We want to build a 5-story building, and I know at the end of the day, it's looking like a hall. We want to build a 5-story building that should be accommodating people to live apartment. And at the end of the day, after finishing the project, it now looks like a hall or a secondary school apartment. So talking about scope is within the limitation of what you want to achieve. So we are trying to now let us understand how we can communicate to top management to let them understand that safety plays a long role in achieving the scope of the project, in achieving the schedule we want to achieve, in achieving the cost you want to exit, and in also achieving the quality we want to achieve. So having defining what project management is, using skills, techniques to achieve what we want to achieve. What does health and safety means? Health, safety, and environment. According to Wikipedia, it says it's an umbrella term for the laws, rules, guidance, and processes designed to help protect employees, damage to equipment, the public, and harm to the environment. HSC is a management science that concerns with the prevention of accident in the worksite or reduce the effect of an accident. HSC is a collection of tools and system processes to avoid health issues and injuries for our employees and for protecting the environment. There are so many keywords here: damage to equipment, protecting the employees, protecting the public, preventing injuries, preventing accidents. And when we when we want to do all these things that I just mentioned, it doesn't happen like a miracle. It involves a collection of tools. It involves understanding the science behind it. It involves understanding the system behind it, developing system, procedures, processes, programs, establishing systems in place that will help us to achieve these goals of protecting employees, preventing damage to equipment, protecting the public, and so what we now be talking now is using these terms together, understanding these goals, how does it actually affect the project that we might be supervising or managing at every point in time. So I know most of us here, I can see a lot of professionals here. Most of us here are not newbies. So sometimes you see HSC, OHS, EHS, HSCQ, QHSC. It's they mean the same thing. It's a big environment, or it's a big umbrella that actually has different units, but still under the same umbrella, depending on the organization that you work with. Some will combine quality and safety together, some will separate them, some will add security to the definition of the safety department. So that will be HSSEQ. No matter where you find it, it still means you're still talking about the same thing. So how do we intersect project management with safety management? The critical intersection of project and safety management involves the management and reduction of income erosion, which enhances quality, while we enhance quality and creating critical cultural enrichment. We want to create a culture in our workplace that helps us to improve the productivity of workers. We want to create an environment that reduces unnecessary cost, while we focus on quality, reducing cost to the barest minimum and improving our quality of our product that will help us to gain client satisfaction, get a good name out there in the public, create a good image of us and get more clients to work with our organization. It also goes a long way in reducing project cost by reducing what unforeseen accidents that could happen, or by also helping the organization to limit the time that will be spent on unnecessary things that can be averted with safety. We'll still go more in the discussion. So we have three basic constraints, but with inclusive of quality. Talking about scope, are we doing what we say we want to do? What we say we want to achieve, are we achieving it? Are we doing this on schedule? Is it on schedule? Is it based on the plan that we had? Is it based on the number of months we want to carry out these things? When we're talking about project, we're talking about schedule, talking about scope, we're talking about cost. Is it within the cost that we want to achieve this? That's why you see in some organization, they see safety as additional cost. It is because they do not understand the benefit of having a robust and effective safety management system in place, or a safety department. So how do we achieve? If in some projects, they will tell you safety is wasting time. We can do this sharp, 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 not knowing that safety is actually assisting them in reducing unnecessary time that can go on the waste if there are no safety procedures established and in place. So when we're talking about productivity, now let's talk about project management. Let's talk about project. We're talking about productivity, that we are talking about scope. I've mentioned this already. And we are talking about quality deliverable. We are talking about, okay, are we able to meet this target? Are we able to meet these costs? We say we want to spend $20 million. Did we hope we are not spending $30 million? Are we within the schedule? At 50% of our project, we are not supposed to exceed this amount. Hope we are not exceeding this amount. Completion on schedule at so level. At 6 months, we are supposed to have reached this level. Are we on that level? So quality and standard and within the scope of the project. So these are ways that we mentioned quality and productivity. So now, what we are now trying to do now is to tell us that safety will actually underpins every other aspect, and with safety, putting safety in place and understanding what safety entails and how far safety can go with our systems, with our programs, with our trainings that we've had in the past years, how it can actually help us to ensure productivity and quality deliverables. Still talking about cost. When we're talking about lack of health and safety, it affects cost, it affects quality, and it affects schedule. For example, when there is during an erection of a crane, we've seen so many situations where a crane will collapse. Yes, crane will be used. There's no doubt. We need to use a crane for a particular activity. And if there are no safety procedures in place and the crane should collapse, we know how it's going to affect the project. This is straight and clear. Number one, when the crane collapses, it's going to affect the crane. The crane is going to get damaged, and that will, number one, affect the time, because they will have to mobilize another crane. That is costing us another cost of mobilization of a new set of cranes, and also the cost of repairing that same crane. And the cost, maybe during the event there was injuries, maybe medical treatment case or lost time injuries, we are going to pay the staffs or the workers for compensation for whatever, for the accident, and also we'll pay them while they are not working, and this leads to lost time. And at the end of the day, the project can be on hold for some days, and before we know it, we're already behind schedule. Why? Because of the fact that safety was not put in place during critical lifting operation, during critical excavation activities, underground utility cables, lifting under power lines, critical activities. When we don't put safety first, definitely it will affect. We have seen situations where a crane will collapse, and it will collapse on the structure that is under construction. That has already affected the quality. Then sustainability of the environment. In recent times, we are moving from HSC to ESG, talking about environment, social, and governance. We are talking about business sustainability, environmental sustainability. How do you project your business to be in the next 5-10 years? So you're not talking about just safety in the current time or just cost in the current time, but how your activities can actually create a high level sustenance, or how your business will be sustainable over a specific long period of time. So understanding the importance of safety. Safety is a key area in ESG, and I believe that most of us will have been going into some studies about what this actually entails. Also, it includes fatalities, injuries, diseases, all these ill health. They contribute to the cost of constructions. When there's fatalities, when there are injuries, diseases, and it affects the cost of construction and development as workers' compensation insurance. That is for companies that insure their workers for illnesses or for injuries. It increases their premium, and at the end of the day, it increases the labor overhead cost, and the cost of the accident will be integrated into the cost of the contract. So at the end of the day, we are spending more because we failed to put safety in place. So this is a basic understanding, and what we are trying to do is to go into the knowledge areas. We'll still go to the knowledge areas. Just follow us as we continue on this webinar. So planning for safety. Why do we plan for safety? We are planning for safety to decrease the chances of project delays. As safety professionals, what our top management want to listen to, what they want to hear is from you is to talk about business value, is to talk about sustainability, is to talk about productivity, is for you to talk about how there will be increase in revenue and there will be reduction in unnecessary costs to the organization. So you can only do that where you understand. For example, if you are working in a construction environment or manufacturing environment, when you handle projects, you can only achieve that discussion with top management when you understand that it goes beyond just preventing an accident. Yes, we are preventing an accident, but there is something that we are saving in the nearest future. We are saving unnecessary costs. We are increasing the revenue. We are increasing productivity, because when things are in place, there will increase in productivity. For example, when there is safety in place, then workers will have this sense of duty of care that yes, their organization cares about them. It will increase their staff morale when they are being paid well, when they are being taken care of, putting safety measures in place before they carry out activities, and they see the effort of the organization. It will make them to work more with the whole of their heart. When you put programs in place and you implement those programs, it will increase staff morale. It will decrease staff turnout rate, where staff turnover rate will decrease, staff turnover rate where staff will be leaving your organization because of positive culture. At the end of the day, you need to recruit new set of people, cost of recruiting, all these go a long way. So talking about project, you are trying to decrease the project delay. What are those things that can delay our project? What are those things that can affect the timing of our project? What are those things that can affect the cost of our project? Let me give you an example of cost. There's this particular time that when I was working with an Indian company, and I advised them then that, see, guys, you see what you are trying to do. You want to mobilize an equipment to site. And I told them, if you want to mobilize a heavy duty equipment to site, you need to put some things in place. Very important for us to know the records of the special record of this equipment, for us to have a third-party certification to tell us that this equipment is fit for use on site. You know, they see these things as just documents. And the man was like, no. The manufacturer does not, the owner does not have any document. Let them come, Indians. So when they came, I was like, I'm not going to sign this equipment in. They said, don't worry, we'll get it done. Then after the first day, when the equipment came in, the heavy duty equipment came in, it was looking sick. I know, yes, this one is going to break down. It's not a cost. Then we pay money for mobilization. That is the cost of mobilization. Then on the second day, while it was working, it broke down. It wasn't working again. They called the engineer, they called the mechanic to repair. Till the second day, it has already led to a lost time. Not lost time injury, it has already led to a lost time. The equipment breakdown. the workers will be paid for that day for not doing anything. The equipment are broken down, causing delay on the timing of the project. It's going to affect the schedule. Then at the end of the day, they were unable to repair that equipment. Now they now have to mobilize another equipment. They have to be demobilized at another cost, another day. Then why they paid for the staffs, for the workers? Nothing. It's not that concern. Then they brought in another. Now they have to pay for another mobilization. Now they now have to look for the one that has third-party certification and every other required evidence to prove that this equipment is actually good for use. Then we do our physical inspection too. So at the end of the day, that one was brought in and it was able to work for the days. So now you see the benefits now. So when we require when you put a particular system in place, because safety is not integrated and you decided not to follow that procedure, they end up spending more. There are many stories like this that we'll still talk about, even when it comes to the issue of quality. So how it also affects quality. So at the end of the day, they spent more, delayed the timing, paid for the workers, paid for extra to mobilize another equipment, and at the end of the day, the one that we now said is the best for them was now being used. So these are examples of what it can affect. So it also increases the potential for success and the confidence of team members. Yes, it increases the confidence of team members, which leads to higher productivity and lower staff turnover rate. Duty of care. I think I've mentioned this already. So if you're talking about the phase of project management, we have 5 phases of project management. I don't know if it has been changed now, but the last book of knowledge that I did, it was 5. Yes, and we have the initiation stage, that is initiating stage. We have the planning stage, we have the execution stage, we have the monitoring and control, then the closing phase. So at each phase, the book of the knowledge areas will be identified and it will be explicitly explained what are those activities, what are those things that are done at each stage of project management. So initiation, to cut the story short, this is where we have the first, where there is before the project even starts at all, there's what we call, I've forgotten the name that is being called. I've forgotten the name. There's a particular document that must be established at the initial stage that includes the stakeholders management and some critical part of the knowledge areas. So that particular stage, safety also needs to be integrated before they even start planning at all. Then from there, it gets to the planning stage where they've tried to look at, these are the activities we want to carry out, this I want to carry it out. Then to the execution stage itself, where they carry out the activities. Then the monitoring and control, where they monitor changes in the system, changes in plan, changes in cost, and whatever is knowledge area they are talking about. So it's a fluid, it's a fluid system, not waterfall. No, it's a fluid system that you go front and back, go to planning and come back, execution, monitor, go back, and at the end of the day, the closing phase of the project. So depending on what is under construction. So let's continue. So we'll start from the initiation stage. When we're talking about the initiation stage of the project, what are those areas of health and safety that we need to look out for? This is the stage where the management actually needs to commit themselves to health and safety and to draft out the HSE register, the legal requirements, to know what are those areas that they need to fulfill so that at the end of the day, a body will not come and obstruct the continuity of the project. Show deliberate commitment to health and safety, establish health and safety management systems, have plans for trainings, how to manage their contractors, how to go about the permit to work systems, the monitoring and analysis of our activities, progress, HS indicators, how they want to go about it, their HSA plan, the HSA manuals, and health and safety risks, how they manage all these health and safety risks, risk register, and the likes. Then it's also a stage where they identify stakeholders. Yes, okay, even though you are the project manager, you are also responsible and accountable for every safety activities that happens in the workplace. So that is also part of their roles, aside from their positions, basically. So at the initiation stage, it is where all these things are being put in place. Then from there, it goes to the planning phase of the project. We're talking about the planning phase of the project. We are talking about project management plan. There's what we call the project management plan. That is a kind of document that is being done alongside with the HSA plan. And this requires a whole lot of integration. At each step of the project management plan, there are a whole lot of integration that needs to be taking place. Integration is like a glue that connects other knowledge areas. We're talking about integration, at the center of the phases, we have the integration. At the center of the knowledge areas, we have the integration, and it's like a glue that connects every other knowledge areas, and we are trying to introduce safety into it. So integration makes sure everything is balanced. Yeah, I wanted to remember project charter the other time. Integration makes sure that everything is balanced, the cost and schedule. Okay, at 40% of this project, at 40%, if you've gotten to 40% of this project, we should be in the 6th month, or we should be in the 7th month, and we should have spent just to amount 30% of our cost, of our project cost. So it's the integration that makes sure that these things are well balanced and producing the benefit of our project charter, what has been included in the project charter. So these are our knowledge areas. So in the planning phase, we have, like I said, integration, scope, schedule, cost, quality, resources, communication, risk, procurement, stakeholders, and I've mentioned this before. So we are going to be looking at not all, like I said, because planning is the major phase and the execution phase. So because of time, we can't go through all the knowledge areas for all the phases. Like for planning, I should now mention all the knowledge areas from schedule, cost, quality, and explain how safety is a factor. It will take a lot of time. So I'm just I will just choose work basically with schedules, cost, quality, but I'm still going to touch some other areas. So when it comes to schedule, let's talk about schedule. To achieve the schedule of a project, for example, a deliberate step to prevent whatsoever can hinder the project should be taken. Like accident can affect the project, can hinder the project, injuries can hinder the project, workers' health. If a particular worker gets sick, the worker is supposed to work from 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, and he has to work extra hours. On the day is going to break down, the work is going to left undone, and it's going to affect the project timing. So fatigue, it can also affect the project success. Equipment failure can also do that. So how do you prevent that? Like things like maintenance schedule, inspection, and the likes, what we do. So it tells us that we are not just carrying out documentations, we are actually achieving a goal. We are not only working on an equipment. Please let us be attentive. We are not only inspecting an equipment to prevent accidents. We are also inspecting an equipment to prevent unnecessary failure or breakdown that can lead to downtime. So we need to integrate it. We need to let them know that, see, what we are doing is not only, yes, accident is very important. We need to prevent accident, but we're also trying to prevent a breakdown of the equipment so that they would work as they're supposed to work and help us to achieve our set goal, our set schedule, our set cost, and the likes. Use of incompetent personnel. We carry out inductions. We carry out competent matrix. We check the competency of workers, not only because they can't actually, maybe we are scared that they can't carry out the job. Yes, it also includes that, and they can get involved in accident, but also to let us know that we did carry out the job to the best of what you want, to the standard that we want. When we ask for certifications, like for example, for a welding operation or for a welding job or for a welding project, and we are looking out for welders, and we see someone, will ask for their certifications and the likes, their working, their experience. And we as safety professionals, we are the one doing that during the induction process. We are also doing that not only because we don't want them to go to site and get involved in an accident, but because we also want them to go there and carry out the best of job that we want them to carry out, so that it will speak of our quality. These are areas where safety assists in saving time and ensuring good quality. So under schedule, we have various areas like plan schedule management. We have defined activities. We have sequence activities. We have estimate activity duration and develop schedule. If you go to PM Book of Knowledge, you will see all these that I've highlighted here. So at each stage, what are the safety implications at each stage? We're talking about plan schedule management. What can delay a particular task that could affect our schedule? For example, equipment failure. For example, employee resignation. When an employee resigns from a particular from work, it leaves the place vacant, and that particular activity might not go on for some time until we get someone else to do it. So having that in mind, accident can also affect our schedule, and at the end of the day, it can lead to the possibility of rushing our project, and that will even escalate the possibility of having an accident, because by the time we start to rush our project because there was an equipment breakdown for 2 days, so we need to cover up for that 2 days, we start rushing the project. At the end of the day, there's a higher possibility of having a very serious accident that will still make us to have some delays. So how do we prevent this primary incident that could happen? Equipment breakdown, that is under the planning stage. They will plan for inspections and every other thing that we need to do. So after plan schedule management, the next one is to define the activities. What are those activities that we need to put in place to prevent accident from happening? For example, carrying out job hazard analysis. We do all these things, or we need to actually expand our what we know already. We just need to make it to cover the project or construction management activities, so that we'll be able to speak confidently when we are with top management, or when we are actually defending our thesis or whatever we are defending or discussing with the project management on health and safety. So defining activities like creating job hazard analysis through the work breakdown structure. There's what we call work breakdown structure, WBS, in project management. When you have the work breakdown structure, you can bring out those work broken down, then develop your job as an analysis, carrying out the job safely so that schedule is not affected. So in that moment, you are defining your activities, because you want your activities to be done. The door should be placed first, before the blocks to be the missing operation. Then from there, the welding operations will take place. I'm just giving examples. From there, the verandas should be constructed. From there, the tanks should be mobilized. You are defining your activities, and for every activity that you are defining, safety must be put in place, so that there won't be any reason why you need to have a critical change management system that can actually affect and lead to high risk activity. Then sequencing your activity. Sometimes when you sequence activity in safety, there's what we call sign up. That is critical activity. So be able to sequence your activity in a way that it will reduce the possibility of having sign up operations. And where there are sign up operations, what are those things that you can put in place to make sure that safety is being put in place and it doesn't lead to any consequences that could affect our schedule? Then estimating your activity duration, the working hours. Workers, some standard says 40 hours per week, but I know that especially in the construction industry, sometimes we work from Monday to Sunday, and if there's another day after Sunday, we'll be told to work again. So it's like that, and it leads to work stress, especially on those that carry out. Everybody, not only those that carry out physical activity, the mental stress is not a joke at all. The overtime, the night work activity, extra working hours, like I used to say, doesn't equate productivity if other factors are not in place. For you to be productive, it's not about having extra working hours. There have to be some other factors that need to be put in place. If workers are stressed, that is an increase in the possibility of having an accident. If workers are working under pressure, then it has increased the risk of having an accident. And night work, we know night work, the same activity that you carry out in the day, if you carry out that same work at night, then the work will be at a higher risk because of it's a work at night. So putting all these things in place, you'll be able to, during the stage where you are estimating your activity duration, what your time should take, you should understand these things and plan your working hours, the number of hours you want to work based on that. Not that at the end of the day, you start giving pressure and overtime and night work and that could lead to accident. And at the end of the day, it will still lead to some kind of delays. Then from there, you can now develop your schedule. Then from schedule, we're talking about the cost. Talking about cost, accident, either whether it's fatal or not, whether the accident there was a loss of life or not, has a contribution to project cost. It leads to an increase in cost of construction, damage to environment, non-conformance to quality standard, and schedule overrun. There is an increase in non-conformance to quality standard because you need to manage your cost and schedule overrun. It also tarnishes the client and contractor's image. So this just a small overview. It goes beyond this. We're talking about direct costs. Let's put it as 20% of the total cost of an accident, while the indirect is 80%. The indirect cost is always hidden. For the direct cost, we have cost of treatment, what you see, the medical cost, compensation, fines, and the likes. But for the indirect cost, it cost us time, lost time, reduce workers' morale. Workers will not be motivated, they'll be demotivated to work. There'll be reduction in productivity. There will be cost of investigating an accident. If it's a serious one, you have to engage external investigators, investigation team to come and investigate an accident. The overtime, the cost of an overtime as days has been lost because workers did not work for some days. Those days that they didn't work, you still pay them. Then when they start working, when you now start telling them to maybe to work at night, so you start paying them for overtime. Maybe they run on shift before, and I say, please don't run on shift again. A lot of you to come together and work. So yeah, we'll be spending overtime because of an accident. Administrative cost is also a very important cost. Cost of replacing a new worker, retraining a new worker, the delay cost of scheduling, wages paid to the injured, equipment loss, material loss, productivity loss. These are a lot of indirect costs, and it takes us, and it affects the project cost. And at the end of the day, like we said from the beginning, those things that have been used to know if a project was successful is number one, the schedule. Was it on time? Was it on quality? Was it on scope? And was it on the cost that we say we want to have it? So these are the things that would tell us that yes, this project was successful. And if this cost of accident comes into play, definitely it's affecting the success of a project. Cost of safety, we have from the cost benefit analysis for accident prevention cost, and gain from applying prevention cost. So what I have here is telling us that the cost of preventing an accident is lesser compared to the cost of not preventing an accident. For example, let's say I don't know how much they sell a body harness now. I don't know how much they sell a body harness, but let's say they sell a body harness for let's say 50,000 or let's say 20,000 naira for a body harness, for example. And unfortunately, there was an accident, and the worker was using the body harness. The body harness will expand and will not be used again. Now, 20,000 naira has saved a worker. If there was no body harness and the worker falls down, we know the cost of, we definitely know the cost of that accident. The worker, when it falls down, then all these things that we mentioned here will start coming into play. The cost of treating the worker, that is if it didn't die, medical costs, compensation, fines, the lost time, the morale, the loss of productivity, administrative costs, cost of the accident, cost of investigation, everything will come into play because of a body harness that costs 20,000 naira. And at the end of the day, from the cost benefit analysis, when an accident happens, it actually costs us more if we don't put safety in place. So that will definitely affect the cost of the project. So this is, I don't want to go deeply into this. It's also part of understanding of the actual cost, the plan value, end value. I don't want to go into it, but let me just read up what is beside it. Aside the cost of accident, other costs that practicing safety curves and assist in keeping close the difference between planned value and end value. I think I need to actually explain this. When we're talking about planned value, it's what you plan to to spend. Planned value, the value you plan to earn at a given time. That is, at 40% of this project, we will have spent 10 million naira. Then the end value of the work completed to date. That is, at that particular time, how much have you actually spent? Maybe you plan that when we have gotten to 40% of this project, we will have spent 20 million naira. But that is the planned value. That is the planned value. Sorry, okay, I got a message there. Okay, that is the planned value, what we plan. Then at the end of the day, when you actually calculated till that 40%, you spend like 30 million naira. So when your end value is higher than your planned value, then it means that you are not getting it. So there are so many things apart from accident that could actually affect the actual cost. Paid time lost to mobilizing faulty equipment that breaks down and the cost of mobilizing and immobilizing. We mentioned about this. It's not only about accident. When an equipment is being brought to site and it's faulty and it's not in good working condition, at the end of the day, we have to spend more to demobilize and mobilize another equipment. That is extra amount of money. Paid overtime to meet up with the lost time. Then the time that we lost trying to repair, trying to bring another equipment, we pay for another overtime to meet up with the lost. Working under pressure leads to low quality and sometimes has to be done again, hereby leads to loss of material. This paid time loss to stress and idle workers with low productivity. The number one, the third on the list that talks about pressure, there was a particular time that, there was a particular time that I was supervising a project and there was delay in procurement. In the procurement, at the procurement stage, there was a delay and they had to deliver the materials late. It was a plastering job. And because of that, the workers were supposed to close by 4 o'clock. So they started the work by 4. And definitely they can't paste that wide area because it's a very wide area that requires scaffolding. They can't paste it in the next 2 hours. I told them not to start the job. And one thing about plastering is that once you start, you don't stop because they've already made the concrete and all those things that they used to tell us on the construction site. I advised them, but they didn't listen. And at the end of the day, they started the plastering work 5, 6. They did the plastering work till 7. The workers are happy because they pay them overtime. They are supposed to close by 6, 7, 8, till like 9. They were plastering till like 9. They were tired and they were rushing and they were weak and they just wanted to finish that phase so that the next day they will start another new project. We're trying to meet up with time. Then because of it was already late, they were tired. I was telling them that this plastering they are doing will be of low quality because you won't paste it the way you're supposed to paste it if you're energetic and it was during the day where there was light. They said no, that shouldn't worry. Then they finished the work. Then the second day, the engineer that was on site that was supervising the job around went there and told them they did complete rubbish. So now they had to scrape it away. I'm very serious. This is not what I didn't make this up. I actually supervised that project till that time that night. They have to scrape it. Now they have lost materials. They have to scrape it. Remember that they paid those guys for working extra hours at night. They had to scrape it and start the work again because it has affected the quality. Not putting safety in place has affected the quality of the project because of the duration of the time and pressure they were mounting on the workers. And at the end of the day, they now had to get another material. They now had to pay another money to the workers to start the same work again. It will have been a reduced cost if those workers has gone home and they come the next day. They won't have to pay for another set of concrete or cement or the likes, and they won't have to pay them for the overtime. So these are the things that we talk about when we are talking about reducing cost and improving the quality of our project. So under planning cost management, we have the cost of accident, the cost of safety, the direct and indirect cost. Then from there, you see estimate cost in our PMP. So in estimate cost, you are incorporating safety cost into all your costs. The cost of PPE, the cost of training, the cost of the cost of establishing safety procedures, documentations, the cost of supervision, the cost of HSE manpower. You are including those costs into your project cost, and possibly maybe the cost of non-conformance. But our goal is to ensure conformance on site. Then from there, you can determine your total budget. Please, we are having an underground noise there. Please, kindly help in muting the person. So from there we have. I think I need to do that myself.
With Skechers Max Cushion, you get more cushion, more rebound. Each style includes.
Please kindly help us to mute the person. We don't know who is on.
I'm checking. I've seen it.
Okay.
It's okay.
So
It's
from
okay
there
now.
we have quality. So talking about quality under the knowledge areas that we have in PM Book of Knowledge. So quality and health and safety is quality. Completing a task without injury, accident is a successful project. Successful project, completing a task without injury, without accident is what we call a successful project. Successful project that is to be completed include completing that project on schedule, on budget, on quality, and also without damage to the environment and without incurring fatalities and injuries. We're talking about a successful project. It doesn't only end in schedule, budget, quality, but without any kind of fatality and injuries. When there are fatalities on your site and you've completed the project, we do not call that a successful project. So looking at this chart, we're looking at quality. We have when there are no safety practices and where there are safety practices. For example, mobilizing a weak material of low quality to site for tests, which safety practice will inspect and not approve for use. There are situations whereby low materials are being brought to site and they are being rejected by the safety team, but due to work politics, they are being used, and at the end of the day, the material will fail, and there will be waste of time, waste of money, human resources to mobilize and erect. For example, there was this part, I took part in a particular pilot test that took place, and the materials they brought to carry the pilot test to pour the sand was of a very low quality, weak quality that we rejected. There are so many times that they will bring a crane with the chains, the block chains, and you will be scared that this thing can snap and just cut and the material will fall. These have happened several times. When they bring weak materials that are of low quality, and because there's no safety practice in place, they still force themselves to use it. And the reason is this, because this is how they are related. The material is of low quality and it will lead to accidents. Because the material is of low quality, let's look, for example, the story of the story building that collapsed some time ago. It was part of what happened was because of the fact that the material were of low quality, but also there were no safety practices in place. As when there were safety practices in place, they will have called the attention of the required authority that will have told them that, see, this thing can lead to devastating consequences when you don't actually take this seriously. So it happens in construction sites when they bring weak materials, poor materials that are not of the required standard to carry out tests, to carry out activity, and it can lead to accidents if there are no safety practices. Exceeding working hours. Okay, I think I've spoken about this. The work was under pressure over time. Major defect was observed, and the job was to be carried out again. About the plastering that I spoke about. Now, these are the ways that safety affects quality, and quality also affects safety. And that is why we need to plan our quality management system together with our safety management systems. So where there are safety practices and safety reject materials, reject items, and tell them that this can't be used on site, and it's being replaced, and there is workers resting, having job rotation, tasks carried out without exiting working hours, At the end of the day, the job will be carried out safely with schedule, with cost, with quality, and most importantly, the jobs will be carried out safely. So additionally, we went into risk. Talking about risk, reduction of risk is a process through the total project life cycle. In every project, we want to reduce the risk as every project cycle, initiation stage, planning stage, execution, monitoring and control, and closing phase is a process that will continue to go through at every cycle of the project life. This should also include the safety risk, hazard identification, risk analysis are bedrocks to prevent accidents. Risks and opportunities alters team performance. When we have risk and we have opportunities, and thank God we have our ISO standards that talks about risks and opportunities, and we can put that into our asset management systems, effectively manage safety risks, improve overall team performance. When we effectively manage our safety risks, it will help us to improve the overall team's performance. So under risk, we have plan risk management, we have identifying our risk, we have quantitative and qualitative risk analysis, and we have our plan risk responses. The first thing we need to do is how do we manage our risk? Planning on managing safety risk. The activities we want to carry out. This project will require lifting operation. This project will require so many critical activities. This operation will require tandem lifting. It will require so many earthwork activities, work at height, a lot of complex structure of scaffoldings will be used because of the intensity of this job. So you already identify the high risk activities and you are planning alongside the safety risk. Understanding the impact that employees injury have on the bottom line of the project. Then from there, how do you identify those risks one after the other? Remember, we talk about work breakdown structure when we create our job pattern analysis for our work breakdown structure. So under our identifying our risk, we carry out hazard identification, site observation, site safety auditing, and inspection, and the likes. You have something there. So from there, we have qualitative and quantitative risk analysis. Qualitative and quantitative, integrating with cost, schedule, and quality, carrying out risk assessment, carrying out robust risk assessment on the activities that on the project itself. Then the project, if the project is very complex, it can be broken down into stages, and at every stage, a robust risk assessment and method statement will be developed and communicated, reviewed, and checked from time to time to make sure that this is up to date. If there are any changes in the system, how do we incorporate these changes into our risk assessment so as for us to have as the stakeholders that are involved in the project to be acquainted with the new risk, the new hazard, and possible accident that could happen if safety is not being put in place. From there, you now plan your risk responses. What can be done to protect the project from the risk identified? When you've already identified your risk, you now start, okay, what can you do? Okay, you want to carry out lifting operation, we need to look for a competent person, a good equipment, a good lifting equipment that can carry out this job, a good follow good safety procedures, establish procedures to identify how best we can carry out various activities on the site so that we could prevent accidents. Changes in some part of the scope. If there are, I talk about change management now. If there are changes, how do you incorporate these changes into the system? How do you modify risk assessment and communicate it to the stakeholders? When you're talking about stakeholders, you're not talking about top management. Everyone involved in the project is stakeholder, from the worker that is engaged to third-party interested parties to visitors to everybody that is on the project. They are all stakeholders on the project. Then, are there more financial reserve or more supervision? Fluid process, is the system a fluid process? Is it something that when there's a new risk, you can actually go back to the process? Not that we plan that we'll use scaffold to carry out this job, and that's what is on the project charter. The project charter says that we are going to use scaffold. But when a new risk has been introduced, it now realized that we need to use an IR or a mobile crane to carry out this activity. Then definitely we need to change and review the risk assessment. Those are part of the things we do to incorporate project planning into safety management. A higher rate of injuries can be caused by poor training, poor supervision, and the likes. So from there, we also mentioned procurement. So under procurement is a very important aspect of the knowledge areas when it comes to health and safety. Planning procurement of tools, procuring equipment, materials, chemicals based on safety requirements will ensure tools, equipment brought to site doesn't pose a safety risk to the workers. Remember that when they bring new chemicals, we ask for the safety data sheet. When they bring new equipment, we ask for the operating procedures, the operator certificates, and the likes. When they bring a new tool, we ask for the manufacturer's information about the tool and how to operate it safely, and we train the workers on them. That is at the procurement. So if an organization to say that the procurement department is procurement, safety should not interfere, then they are trying to introduce accident to the site, and that is why they need to let the procurement department know that, see, part of what will happen on this project is that for everything you procure, safety will have to look at it. When you're talking about cost, we want to know hope you are not beyond above cost. We don't want to cause any accident. We don't want any extra cost. We want higher productivity. We don't want any workers to just be sitting down on site and not working because there's no job to do, maybe because there was an accident. We want everything to put in place. So we are already affecting cost positively. Schedule 2. We also look at time. We also look at the time management, the quality department. We also look at what is the quality of materials they are bringing to site. Are they posing safety risks to the workers? Something applies to procurement. We are also looking at what is being procured into the site. Hope they don't pose a new safety risk to the workers and to the environment. It also ensures that potential risks are reduced to the minimum and residual risks are managed. It also ensures that equipment do not break down and cause delays, lost time, and indirect cost. Equipment do not break down. Equipment that have been procured do not break down. They don't cause delays. They don't cause lost time, and they don't give us extra indirect cost. You know, we already mentioned, give an example of mobilizing an equipment to site that can cause delays, and our safety has developed a program, a system in place to ensure that there are requirements for any equipment that we brought to site to prevent such delays. So that is that about the planning phase of the project. So let's talk briefly about executing, monitoring, and controlling. So quickly, we're going to resources. You know, when you're talking about executing, actually the execution stage is different. I'm seeing the message here. Okay. Yes, the materials will be sent definitely. So we have the execution stage separate, and we have monitoring and control separate, and we have the closing stage separate. We are trying to bring it together now because of time. Executing, monitoring, and controlling. While we have planned the project, this is how I want to carry out the project. Then at the execution phase is when the project is actually taking place. That is where we see everybody on site. We see engineers on site, we see workers on site, we see everybody on site, on their toes, working, carrying out the activities. Now, execution is we are carrying out the activities as it is. Then the monitoring and control is the fact that what we say we wanted to do that has been developed in our plan project management, is it what we are doing now? Are we doing the same thing? If there are changes, then we look at the system, we go back to planning, we make changes, we execute. There are new changes, we go back to planning, we execute. So it's a free process that requires everybody to be on board. So that is about execution, monitoring, and control. So we want to look at resources. So talking about resources, we are talking about acquire. Firstly, we have acquire the resources. That's the first thing. Developing a team, then managing the team. Then acquiring resources can include human resources and material resources. So material resources can require standard materials. If you are using scaffold, are you using British standard, UK standard? Which standard are you using of the material? Not that you'll be using too many materials, too many material. The scaffold clip will be UK standard. Then the the standard, the transform, and the likes will be another particular type of standard. Are you using scaffold that are based on what you want to do? Is the scaffold erected? Are the scaffold erected by competent persons? That talks about the human resources. Then acquiring your PPEs, the suitability of the PPE and how durable those PPEs are. Then are you acquiring competent person to carry out your activities? Safety certified equipment. Your equipment that you are acquiring, are they safety certified equipment? Then how do you manage your teams, your operations, your activities, operational aspects like working hours, shifts, overtime, leave, emergency leaves, and absence? How do you manage these things that it doesn't affect the continuity of the project? Then still under risk, still under execution, monitoring, and control, talking about risk. So implementing risk responses. Now we are talking about execution, now we're talking about implementation. Now, for example, your job as an analysis, based on what you've extracted from your work breakdown structure. Remember, we told us that WBS means work breakdown structure. The project team can identify the high risk activity. The project team can identify the high risk activities and establish the safest way to execute that particular task by developing DHA from your work breakdown structure. You can also develop your risk assessment and method statement from your WBS, and from your risk assessment, you can extract your DHA or DSA, as the case may be. Then hazard material program, identifying hazards present in your materials, knowledge of how to respond to an accident if it happens, if there's a release of gas or release of toxic substances, setting up necessary safety barriers, training employees. These are risk responses, safety response to safety risk. Then using your various, what is it called? Risk management techniques, FMEA, that is failure mode effect analysis. We have the bow tie, the fishbone, the fall tree, the inventory, the safety that's developing safety committee, the HAZOP, that's hazard and operability, hazard, and the likes. Developing safety committee, having effective safety committee, giving out training, supervision, and inspection. These are ways that you have developed some responses to safety risks, and you are now implementing them using these that we have highlighted, and they are very effective in managing your safety risk. So risk, what can affect the project duration when it comes to risk? Number of workers, risk factors that affect the possibility of accident happening. What are those things that can affect the possibility of having an accident? Number one, the number of workers. This is in two ways. The first one is if you have a particular job that 10 workers are supposed to carry out, and you are using 5 workers, definitely you are stressing those 5 to carry out the job of 10 people. Definitely there's possibility of having an accident. And at the same time, if you have a work that like 300 workers, 400 workers, 500 workers, and the site is filled with so many workers on site, definitely it has brought the site to a high risk zone because of a high number of people. So there'll be extra supervision because there'll be extra activities, a lot of activities taking place, and it will require supervision. So that can increase the possibility of accident happening. So for that reason, the higher your number of workers, the more you put safety procedures and risk responses in place. Number of hours your workers are working, the combination of the two, number of workers and the number of hours they are working, the number of equipment and plant that you have, number of heavy duty equipment, broomer, growler, excavator, I have mobile crane, so many equipment that you're on site. The higher the number of equipment that you have and plant you have, the higher the number of accidents that you can have on site. So for that reason, you will need to put extra safety measures in place. Number of contractors working simultaneously. So these are what can increase the factors that can increase the possibility of accident happening. So if you have these factors, the next thing you do is to go back to your risk responses. Like we said, that it's always a free process. When there's an increase, look at the change management system, go back to your planning phase and check out on what to do to update the system. So we are under execution, talking about procurement, for example, conducting your procurement now. You are conducting your procurement. What are those things you need to put at the execution stage? Processes to acquire resources. What are those processes that you are putting in place to acquire resources? What are those procedures you have put in place to acquire resources? You don't want a delay in resources, and you want your resources to be of high standard and not workers you use for 2 months and you need to get another PPE or an equipment that you go to lease out to lease from somewhere and to get to site and it will break down. Late procurement or delivery means that the project will not be on schedule and project will be on pressure. So that's also what we look at for under conducting procurement. Project under pressure gives a higher possibility of accident happening if establishing safety procedures isn't put in place. So it tells us how procurement can also affect safety. If an equipment is not being brought to site the time it's supposed to be on site, work will be under pressure. So as safety professional, it's also our concern on what should be procured in the procurement department. Hope they are procuring it, not what it will come late and they will start giving us pressure and there's possibility of having an accident. So it also concerns us what they are doing in the procurement department. So at the end of the day, you will see that every knowledge area that we have mentioned has 1 or 2 things to do in safety. Talking about the schedule, talking about the scope, the cost, the quality, the resources, the communication, the risk, the procurement, the stakeholders. We have identified that, yes, safety play a major role, a significant role in ensuring that all these are as the way they are planned during the initiation stage. So at the closing phase of your project, what happens? The goal is there should be no accident, there should be conformance to standard. Client requirement, including not completing on time or quality standard within budget, but also without fatalities and injuries. This improvement can also be included as milestone to building client confidence. Not even only fatalities and injury, and also there is no equipment loss. Yes, because when there are no equipment loss, it shows that yes, we have high quality standard and we have high safety standard and high general management systems. So how do uniformity of operation throughout health and safety? How do we bring out these systems together? Quality, health, safety, cost, productivity, how do we incorporate them together? When there's a deficiency in productivity and quality, research has revealed that such project management system has high level deficiency in health and safety. Go and look at all those projects that there is an effect on their quality and productivity. You will see that there is a gap in their health and safety. Let's look at the example of the accident that happened, the collapse that happened, or the collapse that has happened in recent. Let's look at the past accidents, some of the accidents that have happened in the past, where it affected their quality. You see that there was no safety in place. For example, the example of the collapse that happened, what the information told us was that they were low quality materials, and those low quality materials at the end of the day led to an accident. Even don't let us go into that area. Let's go to manufacturing. When there is any company that is giving us, or any organization or any industry that is giving low quality or low productivity, you would see, without going too much, without going further, without scrutinizing further, that they don't have regard for health and safety. And that is why it is like that. Because when you have regards for health and safety and you apply health and safety procedures, it will always reflect in your productivity and in the quality of what you deliver. For short-term projects, for example, there are issues affecting health and safety, such as general pressure, that's for short-term projects, less time per activity, inadequate supervision. This will affect the cost, quality, and schedule. And when schedule, cost, and quality are being prioritized, it's on the detriment of health and safety. When what companies only look out for is they don't want to spend much, or they don't want to meet up with time, target. At the end of the day, they do it at the detriment of health and safety. and that will actually increase the overall project risk, and it can possibly affect cost and what they want to even achieve because of possibility of having accident and also all what we've discussed before now. So how easy it is for us to integrate, put together quality, schedule, cost, productivity, and safety. Because safety, quality, schedule, and including scope, when you put them together, it's what will give us productivity. So how easy it is for us to ensure that? It is very easy because according to research, the methodology of putting health and safety, productivity, cost, schedule, and quality is common. Because, for example, when you look at our ISO management systems, when you look at ISO 9001, ISO 14001, and ISO 14001, you see that they follow the same structure. They follow the same structure from the beginning till the end. They follow the same structure, and it's very easy for you to carry out ISO 9001 if you have knowledge of 5001. That is quality management systems, is operational health and safety management systems, and well-being. Then the other one that deals with environmental management system. So when you have a knowledge of any of these, it's very easy for you to integrate this together. That's why we also have integration management systems, where these three systems are being put in place. So it's the vision, the strategy, the planning, the execution, the measurement, and involvement of all stakeholders. The principle of achieving management control in relation to health and safety, quality, cost, and schedule, they are always the same. Meaning that if you are focusing on cost, because of the system involved in focusing on cost or schedule or quality, it's the same thing or related to what the energy you will also put in health and safety. So it means that we can easily integrate it together and make everything a single entity. Interestingly, there are various ISO systems that integrate various management systems together. So we are going to the end of the training. So talking about the success of a project, we're talking about the technical performance of the project, that is under resource management, that is the human resource management, engaging, inducting, and carrying out competence matrix to see if they can actually carry out the project. We safety teams, we do that a lot. Before we engage any technician at work, we ask for evidence, CV, their certificates, and the likes to prove that yes, they can actually carry out the job. That is actually what we do, and it's part of what is being used to measure the success of a project based on technical performance, efficiency of execution at the execution stage, managerial and organizational implication, personal growth via trainings, benchmarking, and improving overall company reputation through business performance. At the same time, in some projects, they engage contractors, subcontractors. What are those pre-qualifications? It is still the safety team. Safety team is a major part of the team that are used in engaging contractors. So sometimes you might be a contractor to a particular project also. So we need to know these requirements so that our company will also be at the top of it. Or at the same time, sometimes it might be a client that will be engaging contractors. So we need to know what to look out for. So HSE conscious contractors are more efficient, and HSE complements quality. When you see contractors that are HSE conscious, safety conscious, they are always more efficient. Go and look at it anywhere. They have a system in place to manage their safety. They are always efficient. And when their safety is top notch, definitely it will complement their quality, which in turn will complement their technical performance and efficiency of execution. So it goes a long way. It's like a chain. When there is seriousness in health and safety by some contractors, they are safety conscious, it will reflect in their quality. And when it's reflected in their quality, it will complement their technical performance, the workers, because when you're talking about quality, it is human that are behind quality. want to carry out the quality of a project or the quality of a product you are carrying out, it is human that are behind it. So it is those human, their technical understanding, and before you can have people that have high technical performance or that are technically inclined in what you want to do, definitely they would have gone through the recruitment process, they have gone through the safety induction process, they will have been trained, and they will have been seen to be competent to carry out the job. And at the end of the day, it will affect the efficiency of executing the project. HSE conscious contractors are more attractive to clients. Health and safety, therefore, should be a basis for selection of contractors via demonstration of safety records, health and safety commitment and knowledge, and the ability to work in a healthy and safe manner. So at the end of the day, you have a safety culture that is predictive, a safety culture that tells us that yes, how we do our business here is safety. Safety is how we carry out our business here. Safety is how we do our things. Safety is how we run our business here, because we understand that safety is not only about safety, but safety is about cost, safety is about schedule, safety is about quality, and safety is about the overall productivity of the organization at large. It's about the business value and sustainability. It starts from the early stage, on the pathological stage. Most of us, we know this start already. From the pathological stage to the reactive stage, where safety is seen as important, to the calculative, where we try to manage things and see how we can work things out, even while we maintain the hazards. And the proactive stage, when there is safety leadership and commitment, and there is drive of continuous improvement. Once we get to that proactive stage, it means that yes, something is coming, and that is the predictive stage. So we will always get there. And at the end of the day, we have a kind of organization that values safety and understand that safety is not only about injuries or accidents, but it's about business value, and it's about high level productivity and business sustainability. And that takes us to the end of today's training. I really appreciate. Thank you for engaging me for this training. If you have any questions, please kindly ask while I drop the mic. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wali, for that very robust and interesting training. But you've been able to compress it and has made us to benefit from it. Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. I've actually picked something that safety complements quality. Most times in a different work environment, they tend to prioritize productivity over safety. But we've made understand that both go hand in hand if we want to be efficient in what we do, and the product is also very much okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Wali, once more. So it's time to entertain questions. Please, if you have any question for Mr. Wali, you can either identify so that we give you a platform to ask on chat so that we will not be crowded. Please, if you have any question for Mr. Wali, you can drop it on chat now. If you want to appreciate him, anything you want to do, you can drop it on chat. If we need to give you audience for you to speak, we will give you audience. If it's just for us to read out the question from chat, we will also do that. Please, we are waiting. Any question? I'm in the chat box, please. And also, Mr. Wali have also told us that I will make the material available. So if you need, just drop your email address and it will be sent to you. Any question, please? You are waiting? Okay, while waiting for question, Mr. David, do you have what to say?
Hello.
Okay. The floor is yours, Mr. David.